What is happening, guys? So welcome back to another YouTube video. Before we get into the video, please do drop a like down below or subscribe if you haven't already. It really does help out the channel. So today we're going to be talking about the best training split to build muscle. Now, what is the best training split to build muscle? Well, the answer to this, like the answer to many other questions, is going to be it depends. So I coach a lot of clients and the split that I decide upon for them is always going to be different based off the individual. There are a lot of factors which I'll take into consideration before I decide upon someone's split. One of the biggest one being their current lifestyle. What does their current work schedule look like? What do their current life commitments look like? You know, are you a single mother, or are you just a teenage boy who has a load of free time? What training split that you do is going to depend massively on those factors. The best training split for you is going to be the one that you can stick to and adhere to over a long period of time. There are going to be some other factors which come into consideration, like other commitments outside of the gym. Let's say, for example, that you play sport and you want to incorporate that into your training program. So I coach a lot of guys who play GA. For all my non-Irish followers out there, that's just Gaelic football and Gaelic hurling and Gaelic games in general, or just people who do other things outside of the gym that they enjoy and that they need to continue on doing as part of their overall training regime. So I have a lot of other clients who also run and cycle and things along those lines, and the best training split for them to be optimal and recover properly might be very different from someone who is just doing the gym as their standalone training. So that's going to be the first major thing you need to take into consideration when deciding what split is going to be the best and the most optimal for you. What does your current lifestyle look like? What do your other commitments outside of the gym look like? How many days per week can you train and things like that? And then from there, you can start to decide, okay, what's the best split going to be for me, dependent on what level I'm currently at in my journey. Let's say, for example, you've never stepped foot in the gym before in your whole entire life. A good training split to start off with for you might just be a full body split, 3 days per week, hitting all body parts equally across the week. This is a good training split to get people going as they first start to go into the gym, as slamming people with a 6-day split, and getting them into the gym every single day when they've never gone into the gym before just might not be the most sustainable for that person. So 3 days, 3 full body days, ease them in nice and slowly. And for you, if you've never gone to the gym before, that might be the perfect split to get you going. So let's say, for example, you've been in the gym for a while, you've been doing your 3 full body sessions per week, and you feel like you could handle a little bit more and you want to kind of take things up a notch. As a kind of intermediate, the next best split for you is likely going to be an upper-lower split. So 2 upper body sessions and 2 lower body sessions across the week. This will ensure that you kind of hit every body part equally with a lot of training frequency and volume over the course of the week. And this is an excellent split for people to make really fantastic progress. In fact, the majority of my clients, whether they're male or female, tend to follow this split. If you're a little bit more of an advanced trainee and you've been training for a couple of years, you might want to move on to something where you're hitting your body parts with a little bit extra volume per session over the course of the week. So something like a push-pull leg split would be good at this point. But again, it's all going to depend on your commitments in your life and outside of the gym. Let's just take myself, for example. I'm currently at the stage where my training split is designed exactly for my needs as an individual and for the body parts that I want to bring up. If you are a beginner, you do not need specificity in your training. You just kind of need to bring up everything overall. But for me, I have been training for 8 years, and during that time frame, I have discovered that I have body parts that respond a little bit better than others, and so my weaker body parts need a little bit more volume over the course of a week to be brought up. My current split is push, pull, off, chest and arms, legs, off, and then repeat. And I do 2 rotations of each. So this ensures that I'm getting additional volume to my weaker areas, being my chest and my arms, over the course of my training split to bring up those areas. Now, when we actually get into what the exercises and what the sets and reps look in each individual training split, that is going to be very dependent on your goal and again, maybe on what you're trying to work on. If, for example, you want to go into a dieting phase, your overall training volume might be a little bit lower because your recovery capabilities and your energy availability during your training sessions is going to be a little bit lower, naturally enough, as your calories are going to be a little bit lower. Conversely, if you are in a gaining phase, you might be able to handle a little bit extra work, and so your training volume within those sessions might vary. It might be a little bit more, and again, all dependent on your recovery capabilities. Which kind of leads me into my next point. So every single individual is very, very different. People recover at different rates, so what might work well for one person may not work well for another. So the best training split for you is going to have to be tailored to your recovery capabilities. This is why online coaching can be a very important tool, as the feedback that a client can give to their coach will help the coach to tailor their training program and their training volume to suit their needs and their recovery capabilities. Because if you are not recovering, you will not be building muscle. And if you're not building muscle, the training split you're doing is not going to be the best split for you. This is certainly a mistake I made very early on in my training career, where I just did more and more and more and thought that more sets and more reps and more training days per week would equal more muscle, when in actual fact, that was not the case. Since I scaled back my training, did a little bit less training volume in total, and took way more rest periods on average than I would have done when I first started, my progress has been way better. Now, one major consideration that I want to talk about when we are talking about the best training split for building muscle is going to be that your training and your training split and the exercises within that split doesn't need to be chopped and changed all the time. The best way to build muscle is via progressive overload. So you need to ensure that week in, week out in the gym, you are getting stronger on all the exercises that you're doing. If you have, let's say for example, an incline dumbbell press in on your push day, and after 6 weeks, you get bored of that and you decide to swap it out, it's only really at that 6-week point that you've acquired the skill of that movement pattern to get really proficient at doing that movement, to get a lot out of it, to make progress, and then you're just going to switch it out again and do a different exercise. This is a surefire way to make sure you're not going to be making as much progress as you could. So please do not chop and change every single exercise in your training split. Keep everything the same for as long as you possibly can. Get as strong as you possibly can across all of those exercises, and only when one of those exercises stalls should you swap it out and look for an alternative. Something which is going to underpin your training massively is going to be your form and your execution. So when we talk about the best training split for building muscle, as a prerequisite, you need to ensure that your form is on point. Before you kind of think, oh, should I be doing an upper lower split or should I be doing a push pull leg split? Just make sure that the quality of what you're currently doing is as high as it possibly can be before you go trying to tinker with so many other things that don't actually matter. Get the fundamentals and the basics right first, and then from there you can start to advance. So to wrap up the video, the best training split for you to build muscle is going to be dependent on so many different factors. Where are you currently in your training career? What does your lifestyle look like? What do your current commitments outside of the gym look like? And even other factors like how much are you actually enjoying your training? Because enjoyment is something that is going to underpin your training massively, because again, the best split for you is going to be the one that you can adhere to for a long period of time. So make sure that your current training split is enjoyable for you. You're doing exercises which you can enjoy, which suit your current biomechanics, don't cause you to pick up injuries, and help you progress for a long period of time. So that will conclude today's video, guys. I hope you liked it. A little bit more of an educational video, and hopefully it was helpful for any of you who are watching. So if you want to see more kind of sit down and chat educational videos like this, then drop a comment down below with some suggestions. So thank you very much for watching, and I will catch you in the next one.